Hi, everybody. Thanks for having tuned into WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And you've just tuned into Real Estate Real Talk with Julia M. Spencer. Welcome, everybody, for this Wednesday afternoon. We are broadcasting live right here from near Troop Square, downtown Savannah. It is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. We only have a couple more days left until the weekend, everybody. Yay, clap with me. And I have an awesome guest right here in the studio with me. Welcome to the studio, Scott Aldinger.
Thank you, Julia.
And I'm glad you finally made it because I tried to get you into the show several times now, and we're always busy all over the place. And yeah, welcome to that you finally could make it. Thanks.
It's great to be here.
Awesome. You have a really good radio voice, I have
you.
to say. Yeah. So for you listeners out there, Scott has been my neighbor for actually a little bit over a year now, but we've only met like maybe a month or a couple months ago, I guess.
Right.
And he actually owns a house right next to one of the ones I purchased at a tax sale foreclosure here in Savannah, Georgia. So we're not physically neighbors because he uses his house for, well, I'll let you talk about it.
Great.
Let me tell you all about yourself, what you do, and
Great.
how we're related.
I got involved in home improvements many years ago and recently purchased a house that you could call it a derelict property. One of the problems with properties is when it's not titled properly, and grandmother, for example, owned this house and she left it to her kids and the kids left it to their kids, and by the time this house really went to market, there was 9 different owners and all kinds of liens, and getting a clear title was the hard part. And again, when 9 people own a house, then the question is who's going to pay for the renovation. So this house was in terrible disarray. There had been a fire in the house. There had been all kinds of neglect. Even though it was a family house and it's got a lot of great history, because of the lack of planning, it was a problem to get the title of it. But we've got the title of it, and we're going to restore it. It's in a great location. And one of the things I enjoy most is taking perhaps the worst house on the street, making it into the nicest house on the street, and seeing the street itself change, see the neighborhood change, and lifting everybody up. All the ships in the harbor go up and down together, and it's just great to be in real estate.
Yeah, and we actually have several of those what do you say? In bad shape houses anyways, right next to each other. So I have the 2 right next to you. So we became neighbors in this neighborhood. And I actually think too that that's a really good neighborhood that has a lot of potential. I think you told me a little bit about it. We're talking it's all the way at the end of MLK Boulevard, 48th Street. Okay. See, I can't even remember my own address.
And again, we all know what SCAD's doing for Savannah, and they've just doing awesome work there on the Montgomery corridor. They've got a new building open right at 52nd Street. The Gulfstream Aerospace shop is the #1 rated shop in the United States, and again, it's somewhat sad. And you go 2 blocks west, and an area just needs a great deal of love and support to pick it up, to restore the neighborhood to what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. And so how we met is actually I went to look at my houses that I purchased there recently, and saw your phone number on your house, which was right next to mine.
Right.
And I called it because you had some stuff in between the 2 yards, and I wasn't even sure who that belonged to. And so that's how we met. So we've been neighbors ever since, more or less. We don't live there. Neither one of us live there, but we meet each other there every once in a while.
Exactly. This is a neighborhood that will be able to attract great tenants down the road, and we look forward to making the neighborhood nicer.
Mm-hmm, so. Mm-hmm. And this is the best way for neighbors to meet and talk about it and see what our plans are.
Exactly. I come into the business as a contractor. I started as a handyman. I had retired from another career that was really marketing based and sales based, and when I started in this business, I was working for some other contractors and realized quite quickly that the contractors that were really good and capable of what they were doing perhaps lacked a little bit in communication skills, perhaps lacked a little bit in marketing skills. And so when I started my own business, Scott and Company, I just decided what I'm going to be really, really good at is my communication and my marketing, because I really like working with people that I know and trust. And as consumers out there, you start a project, and if you've got to go to the internet and try to find somebody cold, it's a scary thing. And so typically you ask your friends and neighbors, who do you know? And if the contractor's not keeping his name in front of you, so many times like, oh, I had this guy out, he was great, but I can't remember his name. And so I do my best to keep my name in front of my clients so that they know who they're dealing with.
And you're a local person as well. And you actually just said something very important here. Cold calling people on the internet is such a huge problem in this business. And from my experience, I really dread doing that. Whenever I need something, the first thing I'll do is I'll call and ask people and see if anybody has recommendations. But I've done the cold calling thing, and 2 out of 3 times you get, you get a bad bunch.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. And then I also ask myself, from my end, if I have a client or a customer, potential customer that's been in Savannah for many years, then the question in my mind is, why are they calling a contractor that they don't know? Do they have a problem? And so in the same way as somebody will ask me for references, and it's pretty easy to give, I send them to my Facebook page and so forth. I'll ask them, do you have a contractor that I can call that you've worked with? And 9 times out of 10, when my red flag goes up, there's reason for it. And it's better to terminate a relationship early than to get into a relationship with a client or a contractor that you're not 100% comfortable with.
I agree with that totally. And you are local to Savannah, though, right? You said you had another career before?
Yeah.
So tell us all about that.
Okay, so my wife and I were born and raised in Philadelphia, and we saw...
Philly, yay!
Yeah, it's a wonderful city history-wise. It's a terrible city weather-wise. And we moved here to get out of the cold about 15 years ago and bought a large house on the corner of 49th and Bull. And in the process of renovating that, I met my business partner, who's a retired general contractor, and the house just came out beautifully. It's just been a great asset to my wife and I, and we enjoy our house on Bull Street. And again, when I retired from my other business, I wanted to do something that was worthwhile, and I just love this business because people call me. And in the business that I was in before, was the life insurance business, people don't call you unless they're in an emergency room, so to speak. And this business, people call and they're so happy to get their home pretty, and we just love what we do. It's so enjoyable to go in and make a home, to do it the right way, the first time. And I'll talk to you more about, as the show goes on today, about, how do we gauge what I consider the hardest thing is managing a client's expectations. What do they expect the finished product to look like? And how do we go about determining that?
Nice. That's exactly what I want to hear about today as I'm embarking on this new remodeling project that we're working on. So that's great. So life insurance was your background. Yeah, you're right. People will not come to somebody to buy life insurance until it's almost too late. So yeah, tell us a little bit more then. How do you gauge a client's expectations and manage their projects, I guess?
Thanks, Julia. The first thing we do is really get to know the client. I've got to visit their home and see what their expectations. Everybody has different ideas. For example, somebody might say, I just cleaned my house, and you might walk and say, oh, it's not clean to my standards. Everybody has different standards, and gauging those expectations of what does a client expect can only be done once you get to know somebody. And so I take my time up front. I want to go and visit with the client. I want to make sure, number one, that we like each other, that we're going to be able to have a relationship. Do they laugh at my jokes? Do they enjoy my company? Because typically the amount of communication that goes on, especially in an in-depth project, if we're renovating a carriage house or putting in an apartment, it's a multifaceted project where we've got number of different decisions that have to be made throughout the process. And the ability to communicate is just so important. So I'm looking for that up front. Can we get along? Can we communicate? And then I'm looking to see, what their level of detail on their finished work is. And everybody has a different idea of how it should be finished. And once I have an idea of that, then it becomes easy. And price becomes less important as the understanding of the project becomes more important, if that makes any sense, Julia.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So what are some of the things that you normally get called to do? Or do you do like the whole entire thing from top to bottom, everything? Or do you do like smaller projects? Or what is some of the things that you focus on?
Right. Everywhere from full renovations. One of our interesting projects last year was putting in an apartment in a basement. And again, basements in Savannah are really first floor, and then the house is built. You walk up the house, up the stairs to the main house, and so we put a whole apartment downstairs. And obviously, it's a complicated project with plumbing, electric, floors, drywall, kitchens, baths, and that was a really great project. And the outcome was just beautiful, and the client loved it. And then we also, tomorrow morning, I'm going out to hang up some light fixtures for a client. It'll take half an hour. So we do a wide variety of projects. The great thing about my business partner is his level of expertise. He's a retired general contractor that really just has. I'll explain to clients that we'll go in and do an electric job when the electricians can't figure out what's happening, to troubleshoot it. Same with the plumbing. When something just can't, what's going on here? Why are we having this returning problem? We'll go in, whether it's the HVAC, the framing of a house, the foundations, the kitchens, the baths. There's really nothing that we won't do. I'll generally refer, and I've got a team of people I refer to for things like roofs. That's really a specialty. A team of roofers can come in and redo your roof in a day. But again, sometimes the communication is where I'll kind of play a role of really just setting that person up and making sure that the job goes smooth. Good,
because I need a roof. So we need to talk about roofs right here after. So you're a business partner. Is that the gentleman that I met one time at one of the houses? Yeah, he's a character.
Yes.
We should bring him on the show sometime.
Yeah, he is...
talking about jokes here.
he's brilliant, and I was trying to give some thought of what are the things that make a job go right. And one of my pastors that I listen to, he likes to rhyme things on the front letters. So I put together this little 3 T's: tools, technique, and timber. And timber just represents the material to be used. But if we go into a project where we've got the right tools, we're going to use the right techniques, and we have the right material, the chances of that job coming out are very, very good. The problem a homeowner will run into is tools are expensive, and if you're only going to use it one time, it doesn't even make sense to buy expensive tools for a project. The techniques really are based on experience, and how to get a job to come out right is based on memory. Can I remember the exact way that I did a job? And my business partner just has a memory that's just unbelievable. And then the right materials, not to skimp on any little thing, to make sure that we've got it, the exact right materials for the job is going to make that plumbing project come out right. It's going to make the electric project come out right. It's going to make the floors, the ceilings, just the way that the client likes it. So I try to keep those 3 things in mind when we're setting up for a job.
Interesting. Yeah, and that actually totally makes sense. And so you have several crews that do specialized work, but some of the main stuff you do yourself. You said roofing is a specialized area.
It is. These guys that are on roofs day in and day out, they don't even realize how steep it is, and they're just incredible the way they run around roofs. You can see them do it. They're just brilliant at it. One of the things, Julia, that I decided when I was working for some other contractors, I asked them, for example, what do they do to stay in touch with their existing clients? Because I realized that most of the work they were doing was from advertising and cold source marketing. And they looked at me like I had 2 heads. And one of the things that I did differently going into the business is I immediately started doing a monthly newsletter. And I send out a monthly newsletter, via email. And it lets clients know, number one, what I've been doing. We try to pick a topic of the month, whether it's going to be windows or ceiling fans or new light fixtures, because the technology's changed a lot with lights. And get that newsletter out just to keep my name in front of people. And again, probably 99% of my business at this point comes from referrals, and a lot of that's from my newsletter just to keep my name in front of people. And it really just makes life a lot easier when I'm dealing with people that I know, love, and trust. So
how do people subscribe to your newsletter? Do you have some information? You said you also have a Facebook page?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page, and again, I come from a marketing background, so, when I pick up somebody's business card or an email, I just flag it in my system, and I have a virtual assistant who takes my new emails and puts it into the newsletter list, and we just begin communicating that way.
Oh, one of those virtual assistants in India or something? Or how's that?
No, she's in Washington. She used to do work for me in my previous business, and she's just awesome, and it just comes very natural to her to write the newsletters and get them out. And
nice,
so,
nice. That's awesome. I need to subscribe. I didn't know you had a newsletter.
Yeah.
You were just like my neighbor, and now this whole new world opens of some of the stuff that you do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm kind of curious, since your time, before we get here to the half-hour point, since your time here in Savannah, what are some of the crazy things that people have asked you to do here? Because people here in Savannah listening to this show, they want like the dirty stuff to meet. Yeah. What are some of the things that you've done that are just over the top?
Yeah, make you scratch your head. That's a great question, Julia. I've walked away from jobs where it's been like, there was a job out at the Landings, very, very beautiful house, and maybe 3-4 years ago, before the people bought the house, they had closed it in. One of the porches, they closed it in. And whatever contractor did a magnificent job. Everything was beautiful, the trim, the windows, and everything. And this client said, I want to put this back to a porch. And I said, so you want to spend roughly $10,000 to decrease the living space in your house? And I said, you know what? I just can't do that. That's moving in the wrong direction, and I can't do that.
That hurts.
Yeah. So, some of the craziest jobs we've done involve foundations. You come up under a house, and again, we live in a low-lying area, and typically what we see is the drainage from the houses isn't adequate, and so water piles up under the house. It deteriorates the foundation, and then the house settles. And so we get up under there, and and we jack the house up. We have several 30-ton jacks, and we get up under there and jack the house up and make it level. And I see so many people do projects, let's say a kitchen backsplash, and they'll do a kitchen backsplash before they'll level the house. And then everything's crooked and everything's wrong. And it's like, oh, I wish I would have seen and got there before you did your kitchen, so we would have leveled it first. So, when you're doing your house, make sure you're looking at the big picture first. Make sure your roof, obviously, is 100% intact before you paint the walls inside, for example. Mm-hmm. And then make sure your foundation is good. Before you start building on top of it, so that everything's flat and level. We just see, we see so many plumbing problems. Plumbing's probably the worst thing, because do-it-yourself people, I love you, but you'll go under there, and we just see things that make your head scratch. It's like, ooh, that just should not have been done that way, and we'll redo it and make it right. But it's better to do it right the first time.
Yeah. And plumbing is one of the main things, that are expensive in a home. Plumbing, power issues, I think. Well, structural issues, obviously. Mm-hmm. And we need air conditioning in this part of the country. So
we do.
So if that isn't squared away, and of course insulation, that's a big thing too. But
insulation is big.
Here's my question here. Down here in the South with insulation, I mean, a lot of the older houses, and you said you have an older house that you purchased. It wasn't done back in the day the way it's done now. So, and we didn't have air conditioning, so you just open your windows and doors, and that's your air conditioning. But what do you do to modernize a house that has basically no insulation? I mean, what do you do with those?
Well, one of the first things to look at is your windows. We find, probably 70% of the heat loss and air conditioning loss is through old windows, the single pane windows that don't really shut right. There's nothing like a high quality replacement double paned insulated window to really tighten up your house. The old houses that don't have insulation in the walls, it's virtually impossible and not really practical to insulate the walls. But it is practical to insulate your attic, and the blow-in insulation is great money spent. The new roofing systems have roof vents that are much better than the old ones. We've put in a couple houses the solar powered roof vents to ventilate that attic, and that can save you a lot of money down the road. We see a lot of since I'm on a roll here, when we look at somebody's air conditioning system, the foundation for the outside unit isn't square, it's not level, and that'll just make the unit wear out. And then the insulation on the lines just needs to be updated and replaced. So those are the things that you want to check right away. Have us out. We'll give you a recommendation and get you serviced for as it gets hotter this summer. You're going to want all the efficiency you can get.
And it pays for itself after a while. I mean, with electricity bills and everything. Okay, well, great. Well, we're almost at the half point here. You're listening to WRULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with Global Soul. And in the studio here with me for Real Estate Real Talk is Scott Aldinger, construction specialist, and we have a whole bunch more questions for him right after the break, so stay with me. I'll play some announcements and some PSAs, and we will be right back after that. And that was a hot cover there by Weezer. I like that song. And thanks for having tuned into Real Estate Real Talk with Julia M. Spencer. Here in the studio with me today is Scott Aldinger. He is a local construction and remodeling and home improvement specialist. And thanks for having been with me here for the last half hour. We have all the way till 1 o'clock here, and I have a whole bunch more questions, so hopefully you can help me answer them. We were talking right during the break how the properties that I have right next to yours, I purchased at a tax sale right here in Chatham County, and that's one of the things that I do. If you're a listener to my show and you've listened to my YouTube channel, a lot of the videos I have out there and a lot of information is about how to get tax sale foreclosure properties. And I think in the beginning of the show, you mentioned that you got your home and it had a lot of legal issues and title issues too. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? I'm kind of curious how you got yours.
Yeah.
They're all kind of like in the same bad shape, all three of them. So.
Yeah, my home that we recently bought, the house we recently bought, was just personal observation. Just, from being in the neighborhood and just seeing this house that was boarded up. And then we just did a quick title search on it to see who the owner was, and they were trying to sell it. And again, because it was so complicated, it dropped the price. And so thank goodness that it was just fortunate. The closing attorney actually had an existing family relationship with the family that was selling the house. Is a long old time story, and it had a happy ending. So we're just happy about that. But when you see the houses that are boarded up, you can look them up, have a realtor friend look it up and see who the owners are and make them an offer, because it's always good to get these houses that are boarded up back into living condition. It's just good for everybody.
Yeah. And you did just that. So you just contacted them. You found some people. That's your good marketing skills came into play there, I guess.
And then patience. Julie, you've taught me a lot about patience. When you're doing the foreclosure sales, there's obviously time limits, and again, you're an expert at those complications. But in all these real estate transactions, just patience. I guess that kind of goes with location is patience. And if you want, Julie, I'll share with you a quick story that kind of helps me with my business philosophy. So if you just give me about 60 seconds of your attention, I'll tell you a quick story. So there was a guy, he was a contractor, a general contractor, and he'd been in business for about 40 years, and he had a foreman that was working for him. And one day the business owner, the contractor, went to his foreman and said, look, I'm going to retire soon, and before I retire, my wife and I are going to go for a cruise around the world. We're going to really, just go big, and we're going to take a cruise around the world. And so for the next year, you're going to be running the business. And one of the projects that was on the table was building a new house, and the owner gave the foreman a budget and said, look, you need to build this house while I'm gone. And well, the foreman was a little bit miffed, because he'd been working for this guy for 40 years, and he kind of had an attitude like, wow, this guy's traveling the world, living large, and I'm stuck here working, 40 years I've been working for this guy. And so he had a budget for the house, and he decided, well, I'm going to make a little extra money. I'm going to cut some corners, and the foundation was laid a little bit thin. The plumbing was cut some corners there. The electric, they cut corners. They cut corners on the framing, the drywall, the paint, the floors. They cut corners everywhere they could. And the foreman ended up, putting some money in his pocket. All right. So as the year came to a close, the house was finished, and the owner came back from his cruise. And he said to the foreman, he says, you've been my foreman for 40 years, and I so appreciate what you've done for us. And for your retirement bonus, I'm going to give you this house. And so it always makes me think, and again, the philosophy I use for my team is we need to do this project as if it's our own house, regardless of the circumstances. We need to do this house right just because it's the right thing to do. And so I keep that story in front of my mind, and I share it with whether my coworkers or the team members that I'm using for a job, or even sometimes my clients, so that they understand where I'm coming from and why it's so important to do the job right. I'll share with you a quick story, if it's okay. Just yesterday, we're doing a job over on Jones Street, and the alley is just a mess right where we were. It was just overgrown, and there was a vacant lot. Nobody had paid any attention to it. And, I said to myself, I'm just going to take a couple hours and clean this up. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not really going to get paid for this. So why am I doing it? And even at a bigger level picture, when we look at, being a faith-based business and a faith-based person, that, we're just stewards. We're just taking care of what we've been entrusted to take care of. And this is, God's country. This is God's world. And it's just to do things because it's the right thing to do. I was brought up in a Christian household. I was blessed to earn my Eagle Scout designation. And just those things are embedded in who I am. And I'll tell my clients, say, look, the money's important. Yeah, you've got to pay me because I've got to buy the material and pay the people that are helping me and so forth. But, what I'm really working for is for word of mouth and for reputation, so that you can, tell your friends, hey, this is a guy you can trust. And that's the most important thing to me going into these jobs.
And that's the most important, just for the fact that most of your business does come from referrals, as you stated, right? Mm-hmm. Nice. That's good. So, Julia, one of the questions you asked me during break was, how do you know what house to, if you're looking to get into real estate? Going to move into that next, Yeah, how do you know what to move forward with, what to walk away with? And there is a sixth sense to things, because you can have an accountant analyze things and go through the numbers and the cash flow and your rate of return and your capitalization rate and your cost of money, and all those things are important factors. But then you also have the soft side of things. Is this a neighborhood that you think is going to grow? Do you think it's going to move in the right direction?
Is it a neighborhood where you want to go? Let's say even to collect rent. Is it a neighborhood that you're going to enjoy going to? And those are important things, because if you don't like the project going into it, you're not going to like it after, because you're always going to have ugly things that happen along the way. Things are going to be more problematic than you thought. And so when you're looking at a house, look at the neighborhood, look at the structure of it. Is the foundation good? Look at the roof. Has there been roof leaks? Has there been fires? Talk to the neighbors.
That's a big thing. I always talk to the neighbors. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
Talk to the neighbors, Julie. That's good. And then my business partner always reminded me, go out there about 9:30 at night and see what the neighborhood's like at 9:30 at night. And again, there'll be some blocks in the city that are just fine, and then you go one block over, and it's like, you need to be a little more careful. And so just be careful. Make sure it's a project that you like. Look to see how many potential rental units are in there, and then think about who your target market is for your tenants. Is it going to be a SCAD student? Is it going to be a professional? Is it in the medical district? All those things play a part of whether you should move forward or not.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing to think about it too, is who is your end consumer going to be. The cool thing about those houses that we are neighbors on back there, I think they're actually on the other side of what City of Savannah considers as the place where you have to get a license for vacation rentals. So we're just on the other side. We don't need to have a license, as far as I've heard anyways, from the director of code compliance in Savannah, whom I had here in the studio recently. So good question to have. Now, you said the good thing to think about when looking at a house before buying it is the structure. I think that's probably one of the most basic elementary things, because if you don't have a good structure, you really have nothing.
Yeah.
But how do you know if a house has a good structure or not? I mean, you're looking for cracks in the walls or spider veins in the wall. I don't know. I mean, I have like the sixth sense when I drive by these houses, and I'm like, maybe not. But I'm not an expert like you, so
right.
I'd like to hear what you have to think.
And there's definitely technical things we want to look at. Taking a nice pick and seeing how soft the wood is. You're looking for termite damage and all those things. But also to get up on that floor, whatever room you're in, and give it a good hard jump and see what it feels like. Is it a good?
That's a good way to do it.
I've
sort of heard of that.
You're looking for water damage.
There's Julie up there. She's looking at a house. She's jumping up in there. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Bring my kids along. Have them jump for me. Good.
How much past work has been done? I'm thinking about this one house we went into, Julia, and the kitchen had just been leaking for so long, and the floor had been repaired so many times that it was really a total demolition. And if you're not prepared to gut a place, then you have to be careful with what's underneath it. Especially, there's people that are called slumlords, and I don't like to categorize that, but I'm hoping that the audience we're talking to today has a heart of taking a project and making it into a house that you would want to live in yourself. And that's what I tell the people that I'm doing my renovations for, is that we want to do this, that if you had to, you could move in here, that it's going to be nice enough to do that. And so you've got to sometimes peel back the layers of previous work. Sometimes we see 6 or 7 layers of linoleum on a kitchen floor. We've got to get all that out so we can get down to the wood and make sure that this house is going to be just the way we want it for many, many years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And talking about the future, the other question that I have, you kind of brought the topic up, is where do you kind of see Savannah going? I mean, do you think the city is growing? And I mean, I've seen a lot of increase and influx of people. I get a lot of vacation rental guests that are actually here to stay or are looking to stay. I mean, and you're kind of in the center of the city. I live a little bit outside, but you have more like the inside vision of the city of what it's going to be here. Hopefully soon. And
so the question is, why is Savannah such an exciting place right now? And
exactly,
it truly is. And I look at really 5 major parts of the economy. We have the military, We have tourism, which is just blooming. We have SCAD, which is a major factor. That was the military.
Oh, and three.
And then we got the ports, which is just
an
incredible long-term commitment to see these ports grow, and it's amazing how many jobs it really trickles down to. And then
Gulfstream too.
Gulfstream. And then the hospitals, you don't want to, discount the fact that, as Savannah really becomes a hot spot for people moving in that, are trying to get out of the yucky Philadelphia type weather, that the needs for medical services are just continuing to grow. And we've got 2 great hospitals here that are major employees. So those 5 factors really give Savannah a great deal of stability, that even if one of those factors were to not grow at a high pace, the other 4 factors would still be good. So I'm very, very optimistic about Savannah. I see people really from all over the world coming here and investing money in real estate, and because it's a great opportunity. And again, once something becomes a great opportunity, it might almost be too late to get in. So get in now while it's still getting good.
Yeah, exactly. And let's not forget, the prices are still affordable here. Very much so.
Very much.
I mean, you can walk away with, a small, tiny fraction of what you pay in maybe like not even the Philadelphia market. I'm sure that's more expensive, but even if you go to Atlanta or closer to home here, I mean, Savannah is very much still affordable.
Exactly. And we have a new police chief who promises some improvements in some of the issues that we've dealt with. And so, again, I'm very optimistic, very happy with what's going on. And just on a side note, I live on Bull Street, and there's a major renovation going on at the senior center. So keep that in your thoughts and prayers. They're just doing an amazing job. That was a hospital back in the day that became the senior center for Chatham County. And it's just a major renovation, and it's nice to see that our seniors that have been in a daycare center, are going to be in a much upgraded facility, and so that's super to see.
So we're going to have maybe even an influx of retirees that originally maybe had planned to go to Florida, but our weather is very much comparable to Florida, I do think, for most of the year anyway. So,
exactly.
Yeah, good place to move with your older generation and just keep them close to you. Too. And it's a beautiful downtown. I mean, really, it's one of the most beautiful urban downtowns that I've seen anyways in the United States. So fight me on that. That's my opinion. I believe in that. So I love being downtown. And I've lived here 10 years. I still love going for walks downtown and sitting in the parks, and it's just a great place to be.
Indeed.
Well, great. We are. We have about another couple minutes, so I'm just gonna give a couple more announcements. Wanted to thank you very much for coming on the show, Scott. Now, I wanted to just, if you wanted to get a hold of Scott and have questions for him, construction related or otherwise, I actually see on your card here, ask me about Jesus and home improvements.
There you go.
I love that. That's actually the first thing I noticed when you gave me this card before, and I'm like, hey, he's a Christian. Good thing, And your business partner said, it's like, that's not always a good thing. Those are the worst ones. So he definitely is a character. We should get him on the show.
We should.
Anyway, Scott Aldinger, you can reach him. His phone number is 912-677-0516 for more information. You can also email him at sdaldinger@gmail.com, and the way to spell that is SDALDINGER@gmail.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, good.
Well, awesome. Julie, it's been such a delight to be
here. Yeah, you have such a good radio voice. You should definitely come back on the show again sometime soon.
Thanks. I'd love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, just wanted to let you know that the viewpoints expressed in the preceding program were not necessarily those of WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. My name is Julia M. Spencer. You've been listening to Real Estate Real Talk on WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with Global Soul. Just a really small, tiny announcement here. I will be back on the air next Monday, that's April the 8th, and also the following Monday, April the 15th, from 4 to 6 p.m. I'll be hosting Way Left of the Dial, and we're going to be playing lots of music and doing a lot less talking. So I enjoy doing the live music shows as well. And that is just about it for me for the day. I'm going to take you out here with a song by the Beastie Boys, and very fitting topic here. And after me comes a show called Mother Beads, hosted by Ben Austin. So stay on, don't go anywhere. We have all kinds of very awesome programming lined up for the rest of the day here at WRUU. And if you enjoyed the show, check out my YouTube channel too. This show will be put there at a later point in time. Just my YouTube channel is just my name, Julia M. Spencer. And you can also listen to the show at a later point in time at the WRUU.org website under archives. You can go to Wednesday at noon. You'll see my face there, and all the preceding shows will be posted there as well. So you can listen to them at any time. And I hope you have a great Wednesday afternoon. Here's some Beastie Boys for you. Have a great day, everybody.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.